Hi, I'm Don, and this is the Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back, y'all. Today we're going to start a brand new ROKR project with the Vitascope, or Vitascope, however you want to pronounce it. Basically, a functional projector. I can't wait. I've never made anything quite like this. I can't wait to see what's in store for us. So I'm going to bring you in. We'll take a look at the packaging and see what comes inside. Alrighty, here is the packaging for the ROKR Vitascope here. Very nice product image here. Looks like it's hand cranked. Okay, that will work. No glue needed, but we'll see. To be perfectly frank, with the ROKR products, typically that's actually true. Typically that's true. There have been one or two places where I've had to put in a spot of glue, but for the most part, do not need it. Not much here other than little history on the Vitascope. Very cool. 183 pieces. 4.5 star difficulty out of 5. So perhaps this will be a little more difficult than I had anticipated. Okay, well, before we get into what's in the box, I've got my 600 grit sandpaper, got my Impressa wood lubricant. By the way, if you're looking for something like this, they've rebranded. It's not wood lubricant anymore, it's drawer slide wax, and it comes with a red label, but it's the same stuff. And just in case, Eileen's tacky glue. All right, let's see what's in the box. By the way, I did take the plastic off because they had put the shipping label right on there, and not trying to dox myself. All right, look at this. Okay, so got our wood here. Doesn't seem to be as much as I had anticipated. It is all nice and wrapped, and of course we'll take this out and lay it out as we typically do. We've got our assembly instructions. That's very small. It's only 14 pages. Okay. We have some gears. What looks like a light. Yeah, magnet, all kinds of fun stuff. We got some tools, dowel, metal pins. Ooh, some rubber washers. Clear tape. Not sure what the white paper or the yellow paper is. Some clear plastic bushings of some sort, perhaps. A little sanding stick. Here's the wax that comes with it. I never use this. I always use that wood lubricant. It seems to work better for me. But you do have it. And we have our film. I'm gonna leave this in here. I don't want to play with that too much, at least until we're ready to put it in. All right, let's get this wood out and see what we got. Alrighty, y'all. There really is very little wood, just 6 sheets. 5 if you count that there's 2 half sheets here, but we have sheet A, B, C, D, E, and F. So not much there. All right, well, let's get some parts out and start on this build. Alrighty, y'all, let's get started. For step 1 here, we have part A10, D1, P1, and 3 of these P2 screws. These are actually all of the screws for the rest of the build, so that's cool. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take P1 and make sure that the cable comes out here. And in this orientation with this gear that's at a higher level facing this section. We're going to take the magnet, we're going to put it through that round hole, and you'll notice there are screw holes that kind of line up. Now, you also want to make sure that your wire here goes through that little bit right there so that it can lay flat. Just like that. And we're going to put screws into those screw holes. So let's get that done. And there we go. Note there is a fourth screw hole up here. No actual screw goes in it, but they've been kind enough to laser etch a screw head right in there. So that's pretty cool. On the flip side here, we're going to take this cable and we're going to bring it over between these two holes here. That's where D1 is going to go to trap it in place. Should look a little something like that when you're done with the cable hanging out. Now you notice this round hole here and this round hole here. Well, you're going to want to thoroughly wax those. So I've got my paintbrush and my wax out. You can use the wax stick that they provide or whatever other form of wax that you would typically use, candle wax or whatever. So let's get this waxed up. All right, and now the inside of those holes is waxed and ready to rock and roll. And that actually completes step one. Alrighty, so here are the pieces that we need for step two. We have A5, 4 A6s, A8, A9, 2 A11s, D2, D3, D4, D5, 2 F6s, and 2 of these P5s, which are the 15 millimeter metal posts, and 2 P6s, which are the 40 millimeter metal posts. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take A5, we're going to take one of these 40 millimeter posts, and we're going to push it through the, wow, that is tight. Okay, let's see here. Can we do this? That is really tight, so be careful. There we go. Whew. Got that thing pushed through. Might as well get the second one in because that's going to go on the other side. So it'll be on the left and right holes here. All right, now that we've got those in, time to start populating. You can actually push these all the way in so that they're flush. We're close to it. Okay, we're going to start with 2 A6s. Also, left and right holes go on those pins. All the way down. Same here, all the way down, just like that. Next up is going to be a little assembly that we're going to have to make here. So we've got D2 and we've got D4. And it's critical that this hole here lines up with that hole there. So let's make sure those all lined up. There we go. And on the top and bottom holes, coming in from behind, we've got these little F6 pieces. These are like little T's, so should push all the way through the first one with the wide end of the T lining up. Much like this, nice and flush. Okay, and you've got a little pin poking out here. And that, my friends, will go into this hole. And then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. All right, getting those in and making them flush was harder than it sounds, to be honest. I ended up having to sand this down a little bit, but we're good. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. You definitely want to make sure you know where this is, where that hole is. And I'm using the lettering here to determine up and down. So it should go like this, okay? With all the lettering facing upward, just like that, okay? Behind that, we have our two A11s. Just like that. And just behind that will be A8, which again has that little hole. So make sure that it lines up. All right. So you should be left with a bit of an assembly that looks like this. Now, it does say to wax these inner pieces here in this groove right here. I don't know. It's hard to tell in the instructions if it means the groove or if it means the entirety of the thing. I'm just going to go ahead and wax the whole interior here and call it a day. All right, there we go. A11s are waxed. Now, we're going to bring this puppy back out. And those pins are going to go through that hole right there. And on this side, we're going to take D3 here, and that will go onto those pins next. And it should fit right into that hole, just like that. After that will be another A6. That fits in that hole too, actually. Okay, well. D5, another A6, and our A9 piece right here. Where it says attention, make sure that is facing this way. All right, there we go. And with that in place, and honestly, I probably should have done this sooner, but that's okay. We've got our 15 millimeter pins here. Those will go into these side holes all the way through. So let's get those in too. All right, got those in, those little pins. It was harder to do than it looks, to be honest, but they are in now. Good to go. Test the motion to make sure that it's moving freely, and you're done with part 2 or step 2. Alrighty, y'all. Here are the parts that we need for step 3. We've got 6 of the A6 pieces, 1 A7, A15, D5, 2 D6s, 2 D7s, a D8, and 2 of the P8 50 millimeter steel posts. We're going to kick things off with the steel post and A7 here, and again on the left and right, 1 in each hole. All right, man, that is another really tight fit. Should be flush with this side though. We're going to follow that up with an A6, just like that, and then a D6, one of these beautiful pieces. Now in the upper and lower holes of D6, we're going to put in one of the tabs on D7. So let's get those in, just like that. And then we've got the other D6 which will go right in there and fill in the gap. Beautiful. Look at that. I'm going to follow that up with 2 more A6s. Then the D5 here. We'll go in after that. Just like that. And then the last 3 A6s. There you go. Look at that. And with all of that in place, what we're going to do is... Oh, I knew I missed something. We're actually going to need a second A7 here. So let's pop that out and sand it down real quick. All right. Now, we're going to take our A15 here. And from the back side, we have D8. A tiny little piece there. So we're going to push it through all the way so that it's flush here. There we go. And you can see the post sticking out there. That will go into this big hole right there. Just like that. Now what we're going to do is wax all of these edges here. Okay. All right. With all of those edges waxed, we're ready for the next part of the assembly. And before I get into it, I'm going to bring this back out. If you take a look right inside, you can see there's that rounded section, and then there is this hollow section with the post in there. When you line this up, you can line it up so that post goes right in like that. Okay? That's how you know you've got it aligned properly. And then this will come from the other side, and those posts here will go into the center of this. So let's get this thing in there. All right. Should look a little something like this. And that is not working. Let's see. Supposedly this is supposed to turn when you spin this, but it is not. And I'm not sure why. Oh, maybe it's the other way around. So you spin this and that turns. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Nice and smooth. Okay, so we do have it correctly. It's just this does not turn the big wheel. It's the big wheel turns this. Okay, well, I will take it. Very nice. All right, here are all the parts we need for step 4. We have A12, 2 A13s, A14, 2 D9s, 2 D10s, 2 D11s, and 2 D12s. We have D13, 14, 2 D15s, D16, 2 D17s, and 2 D18s, along with P12. Now P12 is the lens. I've left it in the plastic here because you really do not want to get fingerprints on this thing. This is the critical part of the projector here. And note, if you look at it, I don't know if this is going to show up, but it's kind of flat on one side and bulbous on the other. All right, so a little concave. I'm going to call it flat and fat. You know what? Those sound too good. We'll just keep calling it flat and bulbous, so that we know which orientation to put it in. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to take D14 here And those numbers that surround it here, that are printed on it, those correspond to D9, 10, 11, and 12. So it tells you exactly where to put them all. One key takeaway though is that D10 and only D10, according to the instructions, needs to be waxed on both sides. So when you're throwing one of these D10s in, you need to make sure you got wax on both sides. There's a reason for that. This is going to be a slider for focus. So let me go ahead and get that in. We'll call the 9s the top and bottom, and the 10s will be the sides. And then you've got your 12s and everything to go around. Let me go ahead and pop all these in. It's very easy. You've got the spoke and you've got the slot, and they've all got it. So just match the number with the spoke and you should be good. All right, so here we are with our D10s waxed and ready to rock and roll, and they're on the sides. You can tell they've got the big slots. With that in place, we're going to take D13 and we're going to basically put it over everything. Make sure these small tabs line up with the D10s. So it should look like this. All right, now you may need to spread the D10s out a bit here, because next up you're going to take D15, you're going to slide it in so that these big tabs go into the slots from the inside. All right, look at that, all the way back. Next, you have D16, which will just slide right in, just like that. And now you want to take your lens and put the flat end right in there into the hole. Created by D16. Beautiful. Now you want to cover it with the other D15, again with these big tabs coming through the hole here. And there you go. Look at that. With that in place, we're going to take A12, it's this puppy. We're going to slide it here on the top all the way down. That should help stabilize the piece a bit. There you go, just like that, all the way down. Now that it's a bit more stable, you want to take D17 and you want to pop those two slots onto those two tabs there, and again on the other side. There we go, all the way down, so you still have some tabs left because that's where the 18 is going to go in. Look at that. Now if you grab like this, you should be able to slide it up and down. Make sure that that focus is working. So that's awesome. All right, now that we've got that done, we've got two A13s that will go onto these tabs, just like that. And then you cover it with a 14. And there you go. You've got your entire lens built and ready to rock and roll, and your focus working just great. Awesome. And that completes step 4. All right, step 5 promises to be something nice and easy. We have parts A2, A3, and A4. A2 is this beautiful piece here. that says, "You may be out of my sight, but never out of my mind." Very poetic. We've got a 3 here. That slot should push all the way in and then clip in at the end. That is a tight fit though. Wow. That is a very tight fit. Let's see if I can get that in. Whew. All right, that took some wiggling, but that's all the way in and clipped in and very secure. A4 here, we got 2 tabs, we got 2 slots. That one's a lot easier to figure out how to get in. Nice and flush. Beautiful. Now, these look like hinges. Want to make sure we wax those hinges all around. All right, there we go. And that's all there is for step 5. All right, step 6 is even smaller. You have D19 and A16. A16's got this little hook job here. You want to put that in like this and then bring this around and push that tab into that hole. There we go. Till it snaps in place. Nice and secure. With that done, we've got like another hinge here. We're going to want to make sure we get that waxed. All right, on the instructions, it looks like just the edge needs waxing here. So that's all I'm doing. And that completes step 6. Alrighty. For this, we again only need 2 parts. We've got A1 and D20, but step 7 is going to be a bit more complicated. We're going to start off simple. This area right here is going to slide into this large hole right here, just like that. Here's where things get a little bit more tricky. We're going to bring out our lens here, and all of these tabs right here are going to go into these slots right there. However, this small tab on the side, or this one, whichever direction you want to put it, doesn't really matter, is going to go into that slot right there. So you want to make sure that you get it all lined up nice and neat when you're pushing this in. All right. Look at that. Awesome. Now, we're going to bring this back out. And you've got these 2 slots right there. Well, that's where these 2 tabs are going to go. So, let's get, oh, this all fell off. Let me get that back on. Just like that. And now let's slide this in. There we go. It was harder to get in than it seems, but it's in now. A little concerned about this sliding off though. I hope it doesn't do that again later. But that actually completes step 7. Cool. Alrighty, for step 8, we have B1, B3, 2 of these D22s, and 2 D21s. So what we're going to do is we're going to take B1 here and we're going to put it in this orientation. And right up front in these 2 slots right there and there, we're going to put our D21s. The thinner end should slide right in, just like that. Now in these slots, these longer ones, we've got our D22s. We're going to want this larger side here to face what is going to be the rear back here. So that should just slide right in. There you go. Make it flush on this side. So you've got an angle like that. Now let's do the other one. Just like that. Gorgeous. Then we've got B3 here. And with this slot here on this side of the piece, we're going to take these tabs on the bottom and we're going to push them into these holes. You can also note this tab is a little thinner than this tab, and so it'll match the slot. There's really only one way for this to go. Boom, just like that. Now, these big slots here and here, that'll be for these two hooks. So let's go ahead and get that in too. Now the odd part here, well, let's make sure the light goes in. The odd part, as far as I can tell, is that the instructions only want us to hook these front ones. They don't want us to hook the rear ones in. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but I'll do what I can. All right. I'll leave it like this. I mean, it's pretty obvious that these are going to go into these slots here, but for whatever reason, it doesn't want me to do that yet. So I'm going to leave it like this. Let's see what's next. All right. Well, I've read further ahead in the instructions, and as it turns out, you are supposed to push these in. It just doesn't actually tell you to. So we're going to go ahead and push those in as well. And you can probably push the whole assembly back to lock it in place. Well, maybe not, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Ah, now I get it. Okay. Man, this is a confusing one. These actually have to go all the way into the hooks come out like that. There we go. And this will come in like this. There we go. Look at that. Now we've got our hooks coming out the bottom. Okay, well, you know, I'm not going to argue with them too much. I just wish they were more clear in the instructions. But now we've got all our hooks coming out. And these two tabs here on the front are going to, from here, are going to go into these slots here. So, okay, well, hey, you know what? It's in. We figured it out before everything went to heck. So, cool. Let's see what's next. All right, step 9 is actually a really large one, so we're actually going to break it out into a couple of different phases here. So for step 9, phase 1, you got these parts. We got A17, we got 3 A18s, B5, B6. We got 3 of these tiny little D24s, D26, and D27. So we're going to kick things off by taking A17 here, and you can see there's 3 little holes here. We're going to put a D24 into each of them. All right, so you should still have these little posts sticking up. And that, my friends, is where D26 comes in. And you can see the matching holes around the edges that will go on those pins, just like that. Now we're going to take A18 here and we're going to push it through those 3 big slots all the way in, and the little T at the top should catch on this lip so that it doesn't go too far. I think. Honestly, it's hard to tell because it looks like this is supposed to clip in, but It's honestly hard to tell. No, it actually is supposed to go all the way in. You have to make sure that that little clip here is facing the outer edge, and that's how it'll fit to go all the way in. Otherwise, it gets caught on that lip. So that's why I was having problems with that first one. There we go. Now we've got all three of them in. Look at that. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that you wax all around and on this face. There we go. Nice and waxed. Then we're going to bring up B6 here, and we're basically going to push it right through that hole. Boom, look at that. So this is going to rub on that face a bit, so make sure you got the wax in there proper like. Okay, with that done, we're going to take B5 here, and that'll go onto those 3 posts. All right, now it's going to slide into that hole, but before you do, make sure you wax the edge of that as well. Okay, and with that waxing done, we'll push this the rest of the way in so it's nice and flush, just like that. And now we'll take D27 here, and that will go on this end all the way down. Just like that. Make sure that it turns nice and smooth. And in this case it does. And that will actually finish the first phase of step 9. All right, here are the parts we're going to need for the next phase of step 9. We're going to bring this puppy back out again. And we're going to take B7 here. And we're going to pop that puppy all the way in. There we go, just like that. Look at that. All right. Now with that in place, we've got D28 right here. And that will go right on here. Followed by B5 and B4. Now B4, it says, needs to be waxed. Probably on both sides, considering it slides all the way around B5 there. So let's wax that thing up. All right, there we go. Now with that done, we've got D23 here, which will slide on just like so. And we're going to follow that up with another D28. There we go. And then we've got 2 B5s. Beautiful. And now we're going to have to make us a little assembly. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to take P15, which is this bolt, P14, which is this little wooden bead here. I'm just going to push this through, just like that. Then we've got P13, which is one of the nuts. We're going to screw that thing on nice and tight. Okay, now with that in place, here's where the fun starts. We have B9 here. We're going to push the post through that little hole there. And then we've got the other P13, which will go on the end. Now here's the key. You don't want this so tight the handle doesn't move. Okay, you want it to be able to rotate. so let's get this thing on. Tight enough to hold it, but not tight enough to prevent it from moving. All right, and here's the thing, you want the bolt here to be just about flush with the nut on this end. Okay, and then you can tighten this nut, well, I guess loosen it, depending on how you want to look at it. And they give you some tools. You've got C5 and C4. So you can actually put C4 on just like so, and then use C5 to tighten her up. There we go. Look at that. Okay, so you can see it's flush here, but it's still nice and tight. And if you hold the screw head, it won't turn, but if you hold the bead, it does. That is perfect. With that done, we can place this right on here. Look at that. Okay, there we go. With all that done, we actually have B8, which will go right on here. Boom, look at that. There's no real easy way to hold these to confirm that but it is moving very smoothly here. All right, let's see what's up next. All right, for this next phase of step 9, you only need 2 parts, D25 and B2. We'll set those to the side for the moment because what we're going to be doing is placing this on here. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this because they want us to interlock these gears, but there's been no wax placed on any of the gears, and usually you have to. So I am going to wax the gears anyway, just to be safe. I would definitely recommend you guys do the same. All right, this gear is waxed. I'm gonna wax this gear too. Get up in those spokes. All right, with our gears waxed, here's what we're gonna do. This gap right here, that's gonna fit on the center of this plastic gear here. So you definitely wanna make sure that you get it nice and lined up. And from there, you've got, well, let's see. Yeah, it looks like these, yeah, that's it. Okay. This slot here and this gap here, that's where these little hooks are gonna go. It does not say anything about these tabs, but there's gotta be holes for them. I would guess it would be this hole up here and then that gap right there. So, and then of course the gears have to interlock as well. So let's get this in. All right, it's in. It's not the most stable thing, but it is in. And if you turn it fast enough, this light here should come on, as you can see there. So if you've got it on there right, it should work, but it's not very stable. It keeps slipping out a little bit, maybe. Yeah, there's still some stabilization stuff. There's a post here, and of course these are gonna go into something else. So there's still a little more work to do before it's fully stable, but it is functional, which is cool. Now what we're going to do is take D25 here, and this is going to slide on this way. So let's see if we can figure out exactly how, because it's hard to tell based on this. It looks like it's, there we go. Okay. So basically it's going to go on like this. So the 4 posts are going to go in those areas, and this of course is going to go in that gap. And this post from this is going to go into there. Same back here. Very nice. And now we have B2, which will go on like so. And all of those hooks are going to go through. And then we push this forward to lock it in. There you go. Nice and locked in place. All of these hooks everywhere, nice and tight. We are good to go. All right, very, very cool. And look at that. Ha ha ha. All right, making progress. Let's see what's next. All right, now we're going to finish off step 9 here. And to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to take D33 and D34. There's not much difference other than D34 has this little hole. So D35 here is going to go in the top, and there's 2 slots back there. That's where those hooks are going to go. So you basically want to slide those in, push it over to hook it in, and then this big slot here will go on the tab just over the lens. There we go, just like that. And D34 will do the same on the bottom, just like that. Now we're going to take this assembly that we had created earlier, and this is going to go right in here, just about here-ish, okay? And we have P18, which is the 40 millimeter wood dowel, and that's going to go through this hole here, all the way up. And this is going to go, yeah, that slot right there, that's where this is going to go. And the wood dowel will go through it, of course. And then all the way up into that D34 we just installed. Nice and tight. And this, look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Cool. All right. Well, my friends, that marks the halfway point on this build. It's coming along spectacularly, actually. I'm really loving this. I love that we've got the crank working already. And it definitely looks like we're making a projector. But that will have to be it for today's video. I really hope you like it. If you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.